it's Rhea. Wherever you are, whatever time it is, I hope you are enjoying yourself. If I sound a little bit close to the mic, it's because you guys are like right next to my mouth on terms of the camera. As you can see, I have my iPad here with me, so we are going to go ahead and get started drawing in Procreate. And honestly, so lately I've been talking a lot about how I would like to work on figuring out how I want to render my eyes, like the eyes on my characters. There's not much preparation that I have ready for this video. I'm kind of just gonna wing it and see how it goes. Hopefully this is gonna stay in real time and I can kind of just like not walk you guys through the process, but you can like come along with me as I try to figure out what I want to do with eyes. So how I initially thought of doing this is first I would just kind of generally draw the eyes that I'm talking about. Like, I'm assuming I would draw 3 different sets of eyes and then just kind of go from there. I have to remember to like kind of keep this simple because this is literally more of a warm-up than anything, but the problem with trying to draft out drawing eyes is I'm talking about how to render them, but most of the time if I'm drawing like a full body or something, the eyes are obviously not gonna have space to be super detailed and amazing. Also, I might want to zoom in real quick, hold on. Alright, so I feel like whenever it comes to me drawing eyes, everybody has their own like attributes that they really like, I guess, whenever they go to draw eyes. And of course, I've kind of already done like a warm-up of this. I don't know why I'm drawing a nose. It helps to draw that little line in between where the nose bridge, I guess? The nose bridge line in between the eyes. That helps me sometimes, because it'll let me see like if I need to space things out a little bit. See, sometimes it's easier for me, instead of like doing the outline like this, it's been kind of easier for me to just block it in like this instead of doing the typical, oh my gosh, it looks like Akutagawa's eyes. I kind of like whenever eyes are like that, like the soulless look. To be honest, I don't have to do this because I could always, like if I wanted to add color, I could always add like a clipping mask over the black. I need to show you guys what the other file looked like because that might help add context to what I'll be doing today. Okay, right, so the other file. Okay, so this is the other file. This is kind of what it looked like when I first did this kind of warm-up. And I also did one a couple of years back, maybe I'll put it on screen or something, but more or less it's just, it's pretty straightforward. Yes, so basically what I did, and this is what I'm gonna try to do, is, I don't know if I'm gonna end up coloring the skin underneath or anything like that. I think I might just focus solely on the eyes this time. I might even just keep it in black and white this time around, because that might help just focus a little bit more on the composition and rendering aspect. But as you can see, I pretty much just like put together the initial 4 different ones, or I guess 5 different ones. I might just do 3 this time. Generally, these kind of are the ways that I like to draw eyes. After I drew like the base one out, I just started coloring each one differently. So these were the base ones, and then of course this is where I start to color them differently, trying out different colors, and from the different angles too at the bottom and all that. So yeah, generally I feel like the top row is pretty cool, but that's also because I like the shape of the top row, kind of. But I think more or less this is what I'm going to go for. I really like the way these eyes look, and the composition of these eyes is pretty cool. I think one thing I noticed is that it's really fun to try to use multiple colors in one, because it just adds so much more depth. The only problem is like I'm trying to figure out how much I can get away with that for a lot of characters that obviously only have like one eye color. But say like if someone's eye color were to be like this magenta red, it probably is fine for me to just add these little highlights in, because I'm assuming someone wouldn't think that their eyes are red and yellow, they just have these highlights or something like that. So yeah, let's just kind of look into what I hope to achieve today, but we'll see. And then of course there's the eyebrows. I try not to think about the eyebrows too much, to be honest, but they really make or break how eyes look too. Like, they go hand in hand so well, especially when it comes to expressions, which is something that I would really like to work on. I mean, essentially there's all different kinds of shapes you can use to sort of come up with eyes. So there's like the first one that I just showed, and then of course there's some that, you know, it's more circular, or it can be very thin. Another thing is I love to draw hooded eyes, like just very heavily hooded, where they're just like, I mean, you can see I've already done it here, huh? People call these like bedroom eyes, and I'm assuming it's for some kind of lewd reason, but honestly, I always figured that would make sense because it's like the eyes that you have whenever you first step out the bed, like you're just tired and dead inside. At least that's very much how my eyes look. But I love whenever the eyes like fold kind of like that, like the crease is very harsh and like, I don't know how to explain it. There's just something really like admirable about it. It's very fun. And then also you can always add like the little eye bags underneath, but I don't really know if this is like a good sketch, to be honest. I'm sorry. I should stop playing around. But yeah, I feel like a lot of characters that I like end up having eyes like this. Or it's more just like the energy it conveys. It's very edgy. So that's one way. Okay, next up, let's try to go for more narrow, I guess. The more narrow eyes are hard though, because again, the bigger you draw them, the more you can do with them. So whenever it comes to having to draw eyes that are like more narrow, which I tend to draw a lot of my male OCs that way, but I feel like it's more just about the energy again. But I feel like if you're just starting out and you want to convey a character to be more quote-unquote masculine, oftentimes you'll notice that whenever it comes to male characters anyways, you kind of notice that their eyes are just more narrow, or at least they're drawn that way. I think it's because like more narrow eyes create this more like sharp look. So it can be a little bit more intense, of course, compared to like really circular, like round, cute eyes. And the pupils also have a lot to do with this, so you know, you could have pupils be super, super wide, and they just kind of look like this scary cat puppet thing. Or of course, you can try pupils that are like more small. Smaller pupils make the character look a little bit more like alert. The smaller the pupils get, the more horrifying things look, you might notice. So do with that what you will. Maybe I will try... I think I'm gonna try the view where they're like looking down. That's something that I've wanted to work on for a while, is like, I love whenever there's characters where like, I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like whenever the eyes are drawn where they're looking below something and the bottom lash almost goes like upwards, maybe? I don't know if this is gonna make sense at all, but the lashes are like out like that. They're really like dramatic. And of course there's like, sometimes the crease is like super obnoxious, like I like them to be, or sometimes they're just kind of like more on the lax side, but either way, their eyes will be like open, but very, barely so, if that makes sense. Okay, my camera cut out for a second, so I hope we're still on track somewhat. And then sometimes the last line shows at the bottom as well. And then of course sometimes I see what people do for the eyelashes. It's like this thing where it almost looks like the skin blends into the lashes, but I don't think I'm doing a good job of that at all, so ignore me, honestly. This is why it's just called figuring it out, because I kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about, but I don't really know how to execute it, so why did I get so invested on like something completely irrelevant and random? But when eyes are done like this, I'm just like, wow, that's my favorite thing ever. I mean, it's one of my favorite things. So these narrow eyes, they're kind of similar to the ones above a little bit, but again, that is like, I do just love a diamond shaped eye. Okay, girl, I need this to like stop. Like, why does it activate sometimes and then sometimes it doesn't? Like, what is going on? And then maybe what we can do at the end is like an example where I actually draw someone's face and render the eyes. I was wondering if I should just do that to begin with, but like, when I tell y'all I mean for this video to just be like very lax, and for my eyelashes, you can probably tell I really like whenever they look majestic and noticeable, regardless of the gender. I just think it's so fun. I also like giving a wing, of course, because the power of looking like you have either long eyelashes or a really sharp eyeliner is just, it's just too iconic to ignore. Plus, I feel like on the very rare occasion that I do try and do my makeup, if I'm feeling really spicy that day, whatever that means, I will add winged eyeliner, and it just adds so much to the aesthetic of world domination that I aspire to have, apparently. Hold on, I need to move this over. And I'm gonna do this the lazy way, because I don't care. Also, expect this to like jump around, because again, because this video is gonna be very like lax, there might be a good amount of like jump cuts and stuff. I'm literally just trying stuff out, and y'all are along for the ride with me, I guess. Oftentimes I don't end up like closing my eyes. Like, I don't give like that closed gap. I feel like not a lot of people do. If they draw in a more stylized or even anime style especially, but sometimes it just depends, I guess. And then one thing I might end up doing if I can't, like if I don't want to add the eyelashes directly over the pupil because it'll like get in the way and just look completely like random. I mean, you can do it, but it's gonna look more like this one over here as opposed to this, so one thing I could do is just have it on the side like that. And for eyebrows, I find like the sketchy motion of like the lines, like individual hairs, works better for me than just like solid fill-in sometimes. If I'm sketching usually, and an illustration, especially like an anime illustration, sometimes I try to like just have it be a little bit more like just color blocky, but it depends. Okay, so we have the first eye, we have these eyes. Should I try to go for like more cutesy, typical round eyes, full of hope and happiness? The thing is now I'm kind of going for like more of an anime eye style, but like officially anime eyes are like, generally they're like this, where they're like, they have that round arch, and then they sometimes connect, but they don't really go past that part. Sometimes they go here, but sometimes they don't. Then there's the iris that appears, and that's more or less it. The arch will often extend out like this, and sometimes you have eyelashes, sometimes people keep the eyelashes like the eyelashes are usually very like simplistic, like clumped together a little bit, but not anything crazy. Overall, I would say that's more of like a cutesy anime style. Obviously anime eyes can come in like many different ways, but oftentimes I feel like they're like that. I mean, this is just like, I'm just drawing like one eye for these, so I feel bad. But initially that's what I mean. So that's kind of what I'm trying to go for here, but I don't know if I really, how often I do that. I feel like if I'm working on an illustration and it's mostly like someone's face, I have this weird subconscious urge to draw the eyes a lot bigger, kind of like in an anime style lately, and I don't know why. And generally I did not always do that. Like I said, it's something that's been happening a bit more lately. There's nothing wrong with that aesthetic, but again, I can't really say it fits like what I normally try to go for, because I feel like most of the eyes that I do look more like the first one that I drew. So it's like the top lash mostly just goes into this point, and then if you're like me, you might be cheeky and add a couple more eyelashes. But sometimes you gotta just keep it professional. No eyelashes in business. Also, might I add, while I do tend to love adding like the really hooded quote-unquote bedroom eyes, eye crease, obviously not everybody has eye creases like that. Like, not everybody has a double crease. Some people have monolids. So I do try to also consider that as well. Several different ways eyelids can look. So I've seen where it's more like there's like a fold or a crease here at the front. And that's a thing. That's the only place where it creases. Or of course you can add the crease like this. And then I've probably done this on the first one, but sometimes there are multiple creases, so you see like a really thin crease. And it could just stay like that, or it could like stem into even more fold at the top. You can just go crazy with it. Honestly, I feel like that's where the whole personal preference comes into play. Generally, if I'm doing fan art, I try to look at the character's design and see like what type of eyelid crease that they have and go from there. Also for anime, again, there's more of like this, what is it, like this thick outline is pretty common around the eyes sometimes. I do kind of like how it looks. Something about it is really interesting, especially whenever it's paired with like a lighter color than the outline. For me, I don't know why, I just love pairing anime eyes with like the thick, I always call these dot eyebrows, but like dot eyebrows can range. Like you would think that I'm talking about like an actual dot, and that's just as viable. But oftentimes whenever I say that, I mean like just eyebrows that are like very like thick but short, like a Shiba Inu, and it's just so cute. They're cute, but are they always appropriate is the question, because probably not. You can very easily get away with just doing like a very thin line and calling it a day, like a lot of anime illustrations have. Choose your fighter, you know? Did you want to go with this, or did you want to go with this? It's up to you. For this time around, I'll just do the regular. And I'm gonna be lazy and just duplicate the eyebrow and switch it over. Even though generally it's very fun to have the eyebrows look different, especially if you want to convey like a different kind of emotion. Now, as I said, the bigger eyes are, the more you can do with them in terms of rendering. So it's something that I've been kind of trying to keep in mind whenever it comes to how much detail I add into eyes. Because otherwise, you know, when you see eyes on like chibi characters, it could be anything. It could be like this. It could be like this. You know, like there's so many different kinds of like silly looking eyes. Even when you're just drawing like a full body, sometimes you can just draw the eyes like very simplistic like that, and it's totally fine because it's completely up to the artist. But for me, what I'm trying to do here is like, I would at least like to have like the simplified version of something and then the more like dramatic version of something. So if you take this first eye, for example, this would be the simplified version of that. And say on terms of rendering, all I want to do is add this little whatever color actually is there underneath. So yeah, let's say if I were drawing just a regular full body or even like a bust up, the character's eyes could just be like following this simplified formula where it's like this is the general shape and this is like the general coloring underneath. But if I was drawing a portrait, I could like go the full 9 yards. And generally, like, this is the reason why I decided to make this video, because I don't know what I want it to look like when I really push for like adding detail in the eyes. But recently, since I've been looking into this more and more, I feel like there might not be an answer that I'm looking for where it's like the surefire formula each time. It might look different each time I go to draw an eye. So yeah, where do I go from here? What do I want to do from here? I'm gonna do one more, see if I can squeeze one more eye in at the bottom. And if it looks like I'm drawing a little bit awkwardly at the bottom, it's because like my hands, it's like not a comfortable position for my wrists right now, but I'm still gonna try to do like my neutral eyes. Of course, I am not anything special. I always end up messing up the eyes some kind of way or another, and it's really heartbreaking when that happens because the eyes are my favorite part to draw of someone's face, I'd say, and there's a lot of people that feel the same. I think it's because like it's as people say that eyes are the windows to the soul, so there's just so much that you can do with them on terms of aesthetic, emotion. Again, I usually don't draw the eyes like perfect on the first try where they both match each other. In fact, I don't think many people can do that. It's something that takes a good amount of practice and just trying and trying again. And even though I've drawn eyes a lot, I still make that mistake of the eyes not matching or they just look a little bit off. Don't feel bad if that happens to you. It's pretty normal. And while eyes can be closer in or further apart, generally the space in between an eye is an eye, if that makes sense. So like, generally you want to keep the space to be like that. That's just a general rule of thumb, and obviously it can look different each time. Like I said, some people's eyes are further apart, some are closer in, so... But it's a good guideline to go off of if something looks a little too spacey, you know? And after a while, you'll kind of, like, just get used to it. Like, you'll kind of just, like, pick up on what's natural. I feel like this can be a little bit longer. Should I try the thick eyebrows for once? I feel like I haven't really done that. Oftentimes my thick eyebrows are just because I like to draw the dot eyebrows. So yes, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put all this little fun extra stuff on a different layer, and I'm going to take these eyes and duplicate them. Actually, let me just double check that these look how I want them to look. And I feel like I drew most of these from like a slight angle. Like I don't think any of these are head on, but... Oh, actually first let me erase... Should I erase this one? I kind of like how it came out though. I'll probably end up drawing something similar to that anyways, so I'll just erase it for the time being. Oh, another thing you can do too with the eyes is make this part lighter. Not that I was talking about the shading or anything like that necessarily, but I do like whenever there's like the lighter, it's like just a little bit lighter in the middle of the eye. I see that in anime eyes as well, or usually in anime eyes I see that. Also when people go to do highlights of the eyes, usually the highlight is in the middle, like this triangle type area. It's like right there. And then it's also like right here and in the, what is it, like I don't know what that zone is called necessarily, but at the opening of the eye near the tear ducts, that's also where highlights can be. And I like to add this little, I mean I do this better whenever I'm not sketching, but I tend to add the little shade in people's eyes because it just adds this sense of depth that even though it's something so small, it changes so much to me. Eyelashes aren't necessary. As you can see, this one has no eyelashes and it still looks like an eye. But I do also want to try to like think about how I do my eyelashes as well. Because sometimes I don't know if I like them being over, like there's a certain way to do them. and I don't know if I found it yet. But the issue is it changes for each character. Like, not every character is going to have eyelashes done a certain way, or sometimes their eyelashes are more subtle. Going back to the makeup thing, I do also find mascara fun, except I always have the struggle of my eyelashes falling into my eye, and I feel like mascara just makes that 10 times worse. So I feel very nice and free without it on. And on terms of like adding the little crease underneath, you don't always have to do that. Sometimes it's nicer to do when you're adding it with color and it's like a subtle, soft look. Although sometimes it can look very like intense. So I'm gonna take it off. Okay, well, now that I have these four, and I'm sorry that it's kind of cut off. This is what I mean by like the iPad. Like, this angle for me is like it's staring straight at me. If I turn it this way, it matches where the camera is angled, but it doesn't really, like, it's kind of awkward for me to draw, if that makes sense. Now that I have my eyes, even though I said I wasn't gonna do like a sketch version of it, I feel like that works fine since we are more or less just testing this out and trying to figure out what we like. And I'm going to merge these two down and make another layer. So starting out, I always have this line darker. Like, the top part is always the darkest because it follows the shadow line on the outside of the iris as well. And from there, it's kind of just like a field day. Like, it just depends on what I feel like doing, I guess. For the longest time, I always make that giant U shape in the eye for the pupil. But I've been starting to like just make it a full circle instead of a U. But either way, you'll usually see me put that there. And then, of course, outside of that, there is like the bottom part. This bottom part, which is usually lighter, can be done in several different ways. And these little lines that I'm doing are kind of just like mimicking like how an actual eye does. I don't always do that because I feel like sometimes it might be too stylized for what I'm going for. But like I said, we're just trying things out, so always make a backup if you're not sure, right? So in this case, but generally when I'm getting like closer to the edge, like closer to the lower part of the eye, I like it to be lighter there. And then in this iris, I can usually just leave it as is like this, where it's just a little bit lighter, or I could just actually make it like light by erasing or adding light in the middle. It depends. This all just depends. I feel like I've done this more in recent years where I just extend the highlight over the eye because I think it's just more engaging because it is showing that the eye is like one entity as opposed to like it just stopping here and like that's it. And then realistically, if you're going to like make the highlights look similar to each other, it would make sense to like consider the light source, so it would be like this would match on this side as opposed to me doing what I want to do and putting it more on this side. And so when you zoom out, there's these eyes. This looks like so messy up close, but like from far away it's like, okay, you know what, I see the vision a little bit, but pardon my messiness. You know, maybe next time I'll try to tidy it up a little bit, but let me know if this is fine. Okay, voiceover Rhea here. We are speeding up the rest of this since honestly I wanted to keep this video fairly on the shorter side, and it almost ended up being an hour long because I'm a clown, but this video is mostly just me trying to reapproach the way that I draw and render eyes, but it's not really a tutorial. I just happen to give some tips here and there. They may or may not be helpful to you, and I just want to clarify that things like eye shape and how you decide to render it, it's definitely up to you. I tend to play around with it a lot based off of things like general character design principles and etc., and you'll definitely see that in this time lapse. And I also wanted to note that I did a lot of reviewing slash research, I guess, on how eyes are drawn, especially anime eyes, and if you want some good references, I'd say go to Pixiv. Pixiv artists are really good at it, especially like if they're doing art of VTubers or someone like Hatsune Miku. I feel like it's very astounding the way that they like illustrate eyes. It's taken to like a whole new level than you would see in just like
regular, like, non-anime artists, if that makes sense. There's still a lot of artists that don't draw in an anime style specifically, but they have really amazing eyes, so definitely take references from where you feel like you can find them best for you. In my opinion, I feel like it helps to know what you want your outcome to somewhat look like before you do a whole study session on it. Plus, it's just very fun to look at official art from manga and games, as well as like other artists' work as a reference to how I want to move forward with my own style. Also, I could definitely try to put together like a mood board or something similar the next time that I do this if it would help y'all sort of understand what I mean in this process. Honestly, I wish I formed my thoughts better for this video, but this is my first time kind of trying this out, so hopefully it was chill. I'll likely do this again for figuring out how I want to render hair, so let me know your thoughts. I do want to keep it more on like the 30 minutes or less side as well. So yeah, for now this is the closest you'll get for a tutorial from me since I don't really feel qualified enough to say anything on a certified educational level. Also, I am going to feature a drawing after this of a certain anime character and drawing their eyes, so stay tuned for that. But to recap some points, I guess, again, look at multiple references that inspire you from multiple resources, try different eye shapes and rendering styles, and see what you're drawn to most, as well as some alternatives to go to. Don't worry too much about eyes looking perfect and having that kind of perfect symmetry, especially when you're just starting out. Also, despite what I do, it's okay if you want to keep them simplistic all the time. I like making them look detailed because I find it fun, but detailed eyes work better for portraits or bust up where there's bigger space anyways, so if you want to keep them solid color and have them flat, that's totally fine too. And in general, having a quick simplified style for drawing eyes on a smaller scale is great. Generally, I do love diamond-shaped eyes, especially the ones that are pretty creased or hooded. To be honest, like any character that looks dead inside a little bit, I just kind of start side-eyeing with hard eyes at, and if they have like dark circles or something, oh, it's over. Oh, it's over for me! But that said, I want my character art to be increasingly diverse as I go on, because I just feel like that's the most fun, so if you feel anything similar, then don't forget to try out other styles of eyes. Again, monolids exist. It is okay for the eye to not have a crease at all. That is just as valid. For highlights especially, feel free to go crazy. Like, you can put it in the pupil, you can put it in the corner of the eye, etc. But keep in mind, it is based off of a light source, but it doesn't always have to be that serious. I also think it's fun when people turn them into shapes as well. I do feel like these apply a little bit more to anime eyes though. I mean, oftentimes people don't even include actual highlights, or they're very subtle, so. By the way, we're about to get into the time-lapse part, so it's going to quickly show a time-lapse of this entire spread that I just worked on, and then it's going to show you a spread based off the anime character, so. But back to the tips, coloring wise, I tried to pick a very light color, but not like actual white for the highlights. Oftentimes it's like a light yellow or a light turquoise or a light pink, like super light but not white. And again, I do go darker at the top and lighter at the bottom generally. I think eyes work that way in general, like in real life too, hence why I also shade the top of the sclera, or like the white part of the eye. But again, these are all just personal preferences for the most part. You can take it up however you wish, but I am really glad that I did this spread. I feel like it was very helpful on terms of trying out just different ways to do eyes. Favorite ones have to be the bottom left and the third one down on the right. I also filmed this video like a hot minute ago, like probably a month ago for sure by now, so it definitely has paid off. Like this little exercise and the one before it, I feel like it really transformed, also on top of me just like looking through all these different references and stuff, doing my research on what I like and what I want to incorporate in my style. Again, it all really helped me a lot, and so now you're watching me put together a sort of sketch spread for Bocchi from Bocchi the Rock. I have currently been rewatching it very slowly. I think I literally have had the last 2 episodes left to watch this anime for like the past month. And mind you, I've already watched it, so I don't know why I'm stalling so hard. If you've never seen it, it's a very cute anime and very iconic, I would say. It's about a girl who's very introverted, kind of has like loser energy, but I mean that in like the most like precious way. She's really cute, and it's about her like finding her love for like music and also wanting to be in a band despite her anxieties, and it's very good. It's a very good watch. As for the spread though, sadly I can't really say much about it because I'm about to have to wrap up for the video, but I was mostly just trying to figure out, again, what eyes could look like for me on different scales. If I'm drawing a full body, bust up, portrait, just the eye itself. And I applied basically everything that I had experienced in those previous practice sheets. So definitely recommend you guys trying to make one, just like drawing out a bunch of eyes and seeing which ones you like best. But again, it really is no like formula that you can always use each time for an eye, unless you keep it very vague. So just play with it, have fun, And again, I hope you guys enjoyed me sort of just testing out a more lax video where I'm just figuring stuff out. So if you need to comment any questions, I'll try to answer it the best I can, but that is all for me today. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed your time here today, you can let me know by leaving a like. If you're interested to see more of my content, you can always check out my other videos and subscribe. For reference, if you are new, I am Rhea or Etheria, and I like making art and art-related content on my channel. I do tend to post weekly videos, and if you would like more timely updates, you can probably just continue to follow me here or on TikTok before it probably potentially gets banned. But until next time, once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I wish you a nice rest of your day and week. Stay safe, take care.